a lot of people make the mistake of just throwing dry ingredients right into a liquid. So I always like to disperse my dry ingredients a little bit with something granule. Granule meaning like sugar and salt. So when you have a powder and you have something granule, if you mix it together, whether it's pectin or hydrocolloids or even stuff like baking powder, flour, cocoa powders, if you mix it with your sugar and salt, what it does is it kind of disperses it and it more readily goes into solution. So I have my cocoa powder, ScharffenBerger cocoa powder. I'm using the cocoa powder and chocolate because they serve two different functions, and those functions are flavor. I want the bitterness from the cocoa powder. Okay, I want that alkalinity, like that flavor profile that you can only get from a nice, deep roasted cocoa powder. And I always, even if it was sifted before, like these were all sifted before, I never trust anybody, especially not my cooks.
We all learned that really early.
You definitely learn that real early. And you want to add, the trick is to add into cold liquid instead of into hot. If you add into hot, what happens immediately, especially with starches, your starches begin to swell immediately. So you kind of want your starches to go into solution first and then swell as they heat, and you get a more uniform, emulsion. Yeah. So I'm going to just sift this in my cold liquid and start whisking as I heat. Back to you, boss.
Okay, so I have what do I have here? 4 ounces of sugar, 2 ounces of ScharffenBerger cocoa. I love ScharffenBerger cocoa powder the most because it's not Dutched, it's not alkalized, and it's got this really great chocolate flavor. And then we also have, how much cornstarch? ½ ounce. We've been making, my pastry chef Dorson is here, we've been making a lot of ice creams. We've been using liquid nitrogen, and we've been making big batches, so this is a little bit more petite. So I'm just going to whisk this together, and then I've scalded my milk over here with the corn syrup. And I'm just going to actually add all this in here and make it almost like a pastry cream, but without the eggs. So I'm just going to get nice and thick. That cornstarch and the cocoa powder is going to thicken the whole mixture. And you?
I'm just chilling out, heating up my liquid. So what I want to do is, everybody knows what a bain-marie is, right? A bain-marie is when it's the most delicate way to work with chocolate. A lot of times you work with recipes that calls for liquid chocolate. What you don't want to do is take your chocolate, put it in a pot or a saute pan and put it on direct heat. What you want to do is put it in a pot with some water, bring that water to a gentle simmer, put a bowl on top, and gently, essentially steam your chocolate to its melting point. You never want to directly melt chocolate. The other way to do it is in a microwave, but always, again, small increments. 30 seconds at a time maximum is the most I'll ever put on a microwave to melt chocolate.
You can do kind of hot spots.
Yeah, they will definitely torch it. The center, you'll think it's not melting, but the center will be black. Like that's the worst. Burnt chocolate in the microwave smell.
Smokes
Oh,
down.
and it's coming out of the microwave. That's the worst. I hate that. So I have pre-melted my chocolate for this recipe. All my dry ingredients sifted, and I'm just chilling out. I think it's easy. I like watching you work.
Really easy to make pudding.
I'm making pudding. I got my pudding face on.
Okay. I'm going to crank this little guy up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know how to work this thing.
I want to bring this to a boil and really cook make the cornstarch and the cocoa powder really start reacting to the liquid and swelling. So you'll definitely notice a little bit more thickening once it kind of starts simmering. And then at the same time, I've got 4 ounces of milk chocolate, ScharffenBerger milk chocolate, and this 82% dark. And again, I use it 82%. I very specifically am using 82% in this, just because it's a little more rich, and because the milk chocolate is sweeter, and I want that. I still like the tones of the milk chocolate in this, but I want it to definitely have a more bitter side. So I chose that one over the 70. Mostly in my restaurant and bakery, we use the 70%.
Elizabeth, I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Dutch process cocoa powder and